me. I'm honored, and I'm really hopeful that you guys get a lot out of this class. So I always try to bring it as much as I can. So do you guys both have your computer screen up?
Yep.
Okay. So the quote that you see on my desktop is really a quote that I've got framed hanging in my office. This was given to me, God, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago by somebody. And it really kind of signified, whether you're faith-based or not, it really kind of signified to me what my personal challenge was every single day that I came into the office. And it wasn't just in the office, it was just life in general. And it always meant a lot to me. So I'm hoping these words mean something to you. And if it's something you want, I'll email you guys a copy of it. But and let me just read it real quick. It says, our deepest fear is that we are not inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It's not our light, it's our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be? Brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous. Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. You playing small doesn't serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We're all born to manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people the permission to do the same. As we liberate ourselves from our own fear, the presence automatically liberates others. Does anybody have a thought as to what that means?
The only thing we fear is what we don't try, and I think you do have to have the faith. I mean, I'm a Christian, and it plays into it that you got to try, and you got to put your foot forward, and everything makes a difference.
Right, right. I agree. When I read this over and over again, it constantly reminds me that I'm the prize. It constantly reiterates to me that I'm a very, very talented and gifted person, thanks to God, to be able to speak the way that I speak, talk the way, say what I say, and navigate the process for my clients better than anybody. When I sit down in front of somebody, I don't come from a position of weakness. I don't come from a position of need. I don't need any agent in my life. I don't need any referral partner in my life. When I show up to the table, when I come, I bring who I am wholeheartedly, and I bring myself to its fullest capacity so that I can show other people what they have available to them. And what I mean is this. So psychologically, guys, if you think about the people in your life, there are friends that you have in your life because they all make some sort of deposit in your life, whether it be social, whether it be financial, whether it be, memories, whatever the case may be. We typically, as humans, are attracted to those people who operate at a higher energy level. There's a book out there called Silent Power, written by an author by the name of Stuart Wilde. And he basically goes into the conversation that we all have an energy that oscillates. Some of us oscillate faster than others. Some of us take energy and give nothing in return, and we know those people in our life. We understand who those people are. I'm talking about when you show up to the table operating at the highest energy that you possibly can. And I'm not talking about being crazy and loud and obnoxious. What I'm talking about is when you sit down with people, you come to the table knowing that you in your head and in your heart are in alignment and believe that you are the best person that they should be talking to at that moment. And it's not arrogance, and it's not even ego. It's a quiet faith and a confidence that permeates, that basically says, I'm in this position because I want to be. I have to decide if you are the right fit for me before you decide if I'm the right fit for you. And this holds true not only when I interviewed my referral partners, but it also held true when I met with every single one of my clients. Does that make sense to anybody?
Totally.
Yeah. So yeah, I go back to when you start trying to build relationships with referral partners, because that's really what we're going to spend our time with over the next couple of weeks. We're really focusing on what is your pitch? Like, who are you to them? Like, why should any realtor or client want to work with you? And as soon as you can answer that question, as soon as you can answer your why to them, as soon as you can figure it out for yourself, you become much more clear on what your value is. And then when people come to you, they're going to be drawn to you for that simple reason. And I'm going to ask you this question because I think it's going to be a fun little exercise for you guys to try when you're out there in the field. Ask yourself this question. How many realtors or financial advisors or whoever you're meeting with to generate a relationship with, how many of them would be competent and capable answering the question if you pose to them, why should I use you? I'm willing to bet you if you ask 10 people that same question, by the 10th person, you're going to be able to recite what they were going to say to you before they even open their mouth. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Because don't you think that everybody is going to say the same thing? Ask yourself this question. How would you describe yourself? How would you tell somebody why they should use you? Now, you don't have to do that for me, but it's kind of fun when you start asking yourself, what am I really saying to people that makes me stand out? What am I really saying to make people remember me? Like we talked about on the last call. How do I get people to really listen to me? I don't want them just to hear the words. I want them to truly listen to me. And I believe that the only way that you're able to do that is if you're clear and concise and you understand your value. See, the benefit about being in a relationship, and I'm assuming both of you guys are either married or have significant others, correct?
Yep. Not any longer.
Not any longer. Is that Larry or is that Larry?
No, that was Larry. I've never been married. I'm 55 years old, and I just stopped going out with a girl that I've gone out with for a couple of years, mostly because her kids, teenage kids, were having problems, but it got to the point where she wasn't contributing to our relationship. She was just taking from it, so we ended it.
So you can describe a person like that as an emotional vampire or a social vampire or a financial vampire. Totally. I've always thought that you have to bring 100% of the 50% into a relationship. And that holds true whether it's an intimate relationship, personal relationship, or if it's a social relationship or a business relationship. And so what I mean by that is when you think about the person that you're intimate with and you have a personal relationship with, ask yourself this question. You know what your value is when you start dating somebody. You 100% know that you're the best fit for them. Otherwise, you wouldn't show any confidence. You wouldn't show any persistence. In your head, Scott, I know that when you proposed to your wife, you knew at that moment, not only did you love her, but you knew and you demonstrated it on a daily and probably minute-by-minute basis that you were the best option for her. That's why we get married, because we don't have any question that I'm the best person to marry this one. So Denise, my fiance, who you guys will meet at the conference, ran our West Palm Beach office. She still has a practice in Florida, but I got her to move up to Michigan back in July, and she and I are going to get married in a couple months. She brought to the table She brought to the table two young kids. She has a 5- and a 6-year-old that she adopted. Well, I've got two kids that are older, 15 and 11-year-old. And so I knew that when she and I started dating that there wasn't a better person on the planet to take her and her kids and bring them into a situation where that they've never experienced before. I knew that I'm the best person for her. It'd be fun for you guys to go up to her and ask her this question, but and I know what her response is because I said it over and over and over again. So when we started dating, I mean, I'm 42 and she's a little bit older. I teased her all the time because I said, she actually asked me, she goes, why should I bring you into my life with my girls? And I looked at her square in the eye and said, because I'm kind of a big deal. I said I was kind of a big deal. I didn't say I was. I just said I was kind of a big deal. And the message that I wanted to give to her was not only was I confident, but I knew what my value was. I knew what I could do to help her and her kids more so than what they currently had available. And that confidence, or that humorous way of bringing it up, made her start to recognize all the things that I am capable of doing that I do on a daily basis. And how is this story relevant to what we're talking about in business? When you sit down with your realtors and financial planners and heck, even your clients, you almost have to have that kind of a mindset, and not the ego, not the arrogance, just the mindset that I know that I'm kind of a big deal for my clients. Not only do I have a great process and a great product, but I personally, you'll never find somebody who cares more than I do. And the beauty of having that level of confidence in yourself when you speak to the people is that they sense it, they feel it, they believe you when you tell it, because we're drawn by human nature, we're drawn to those people that are more confident. We're drawn to those people that have a higher energy level or a much more clear vision of where they're going, because most of us don't. Most of us don't. And it falls into the whole psychology of this business. And I'm telling you right now that this is not going to be a tool that you're going to get out there and, and connect with 50 realtors with. This is going to be a tool that's going to separate the agents that you're talking to on a daily basis and the ones that are truly going to be your referral partners and friends, and you'll invite them into a more personal level of your life. That's because those are the people that are going to see your value, and vice versa. Just like Larry described, the person that he was with ended up being a drain. Well, let's be honest. Most of the agents that are in the marketplace are going to be exactly that. They're not worth your time and energy. So the more clear you can be on what your value is, it actually makes you more clear on what you expect their value to be. Does that resonate with you guys? Are you guys following this?
No, I totally agree.
So it goes back to what we talked about in the last week's call. When you are able to confidently communicate your why, or be able to confidently communicate what you're bringing to the table, you put them in a position of, wow, I've never heard anybody say this before. That makes me feel like I'm talking to somebody who knows what they're doing. For the same reason that you guys are on this call, for the exact same reason. You guys are on this call because you believe that the things that I'm saying to you, I believe. You believe because I believe. I'm communicating that level of confidence and clairvoyance, and there's no doubt in my mind. The way that you guys are feeling, and I know you guys are feeling this way because you guys showed up today, not because Brian Heckman told you to, because I honestly believe that you guys want to listen to what we're going to talk about, but that's the same feeling that you're going to have on the people that are going to be sitting across from you. That's the power of what I'm talking about. You'll get people to want to listen to you instead of just hear you. Think about all those realtor conversations that you had that you left feeling like nothing was accomplished or no real connection was made. Now, you can frog them all you want. That's not what I'm saying. I still believe you have to frog them and build a relationship with them. But I believe that in order to frog somebody, you have to be very, very, very confident on what it is that your value is, and it starts with understanding it from the inside out. I've always said that you have to have your heart and your mind have to be in congruency. They have to be in alignment in order for the message that you're going to say to actually resonate with people. That's why this message that I communicate to you and everybody else is so powerful, because like it or not, I believe it. I believe this wholeheartedly because I'm not a coach by trade. I'm a loan officer who understood the psychology of business, and it just worked for me. And if it works for me and I'm not the sharpest pencil in the box, I gotta believe it works for other people. So case in point, I had my second student graduate this week. He went from I think it was April or May of last year, looking for a draw because he wasn't closing enough money, to now to where his pipeline's over 3 million, and he doesn't have the time to service. He doesn't have time for a phone call anymore. So how many of you want to have that problem?
Amen.
Does that sound like a good problem to have?
Yeah, sounds all right.
All right. Well, what's your definition of a problem then?
No.
The point is that he's been in the call. He was in the call with me for almost 1.5 years. Not that the call is earth-shaking or life-altering. It's just I focus on the core fundamentals of what makes us unique and special, and then I preach it to the point where you guys understand what has to be said, and then you start implementing it into your daily practices, because I believe that for every referral that you guys get, I'm going to teach you ways on how to cultivate. Every referral that you get, 1 out of every 3 clients that you're going to work with is going to end up referring you during the process. And that's going to help augment your volume. That's going to help impact your bottom line. And it's going to be done where you're not having to spend any money, and you're not going to alter what you're doing every day. You're just going to change what you're saying. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, guys. So last week we talked a little bit about the why. You guys heard my presentation on what I communicate to people so that they can understand what's in it for them. Because at the end of the day, everything I say, everything I do is always steered towards what's in it for them. Because as soon as you start making it about a me, or as soon as you start using an I statement, then it becomes all about you. And the reality is whether they get it or not, it's going to evoke a feeling in them that's not going to make them feel. And I'll say that for as long as you guys are on the call with me. People don't make decisions based on facts and figures. They make decisions based on feelings. Emotions are what drives action in us. So what we have to do is realize, what do I need to do? How do I create a feeling in people, either A, to get them to start listening to me, and then B, how do I get them to start making action, whether it's by sending you business, whether it's by signing on the 1003, whatever the case is. So when we left the class last, I asked you guys to kind of listen to the replay and kind of put it into your thoughts and words. Have you guys had any time to kind of practice that and kind of articulate it in maybe your own way?
Yes. Yeah, I've had a little bit of time to do it.
All right. Hey, Larry, why don't you go first, buddy? What are you gonna? Okay. If you're sitting, if I'm an agent with you, and I'm gonna agree to take time out of my busy day, and I wanna sit down and meet with you, what are you gonna tell yourself? How are you gonna communicate your value to me?
Well, first let me say is I was on the call last week. I was late getting there, but I was on my cell phone, and by the time I was trying to get on, I put it on mute just so I wouldn't interrupt trying to go through the computer. So I did hear it, but it was much better hearing the full meeting that y'all had. And then I did listen to it, so a couple of times I got to use it, one on a client, one on a realtor, and one on a referral partner. And my attitude before was very, very similar to yours, Doug. I don't think half these realtors know anything. Some of my friends' wives, some of them are acquaintances, some of them are people I know who have been in the business a year or two, and now they think they're brain surgeons because it's a seller's market where I'm in. It's very competitive. They make a couple of things, and I swear to God, they think they're brain surgeons. And I said, 6 months ago, you couldn't figure out how to get to a closing statement. So it's very, very difficult for me to put them on the same level, and I just don't resonate with them because they're stupid. And I don't think they'd be a good referral partner, but they're doing good in the industry right here. So, well,
and let's be clear about that. Until you have enough business to separate, the cream from the crop, I think that every person that you talk to, you should have the approach of, I want to earn your business, but also realize that there are a good percentage of them that are going to treat you like a transaction, no matter what words, no matter how well you speak, no matter how many times you follow up with them. They're never going to get it. They're never going to be referable people.
Correct. And that was my big thing up until your conversation or your meeting last week. So first thing I did is I went to a realtor who I still have not had a face-to-face meeting with, but things keep popping up. She's got a young kid. She's a single mother, and our schedules have been off, but we've agreed to meet 6 times, and either she had to break it or I had to break it for whatever. So I got her on the phone, and I said, look, we've talked. I frogged her the first 2 meetings we had. We had a very, very good conversation. So last week, right after your meeting, I called her, and I put the triangles in about the 3 angles of trust. And the conversation went like total silence on the phone. She's a Christian, I found out, and I told her, I'm not in it here for me. I'm in it, and I explained to her about if she referred me a client, what I want to do for them. I want to give them the best opportunity. I want to give them the best advice. I want to give them maybe I can't do the deal for them if I can't be a good match for them. She immediately had somebody call me, not for a purchase, for a refinance of a girl she went to church with, and she said, I was normally going to send this person to my referral, who is a MSA, a mortgage guy in her office, and she just said something resonated with that conversation. So we had probably a 45-minute conversation on the phone after not being able to meet with her, and she gave me the first client. Well, then I did the same thing to the client and explained to them that this is the method of trust, this triangle of trust that I'm trying to get across. Again, I haven't met this client either. We'd had to do everything on the phone because he travels for work. she was traveling and her kids, they just got out of school, so she's got 2 kids that she's trying to juggle. I explained this in emails back and forth to them. They have called the realtor who is now on vacation, the girl who referred me, called her twice to say thank you for referring me to them. And your message to me really resonated that this is really going to work. My attitude has changed. I think before I was going through the facts and figures, and I am new to Brian. Although I've been in the business almost 30 years, I've been with Brian 2 months. And
Right.
I have a following, but I didn't have the feeling. I didn't have the care effort behind it like I really wanted to help them. I was going with more of the facts and figures. Same thing that Scott has gone through. Give them, yes, we're going to close on time. Yes, we're going to communicate. Carl's message is, but what you said last week really resonated, and I'm going to use this. Every realtor I speak to is going to get, and again, I'm polishing it and polishing it and polishing it, but the triangle of trust is phenomenal, and it brings everybody together. This realtor, she referred me her best friend, and she called me. She's on vacation in the mountains, and she called me. She said, I've never had a referral call and thank me. Her husband called. He's in California right now, and she called with the 2 kids, thanking them. And the loan's ready to be processed in 5 days. Just thank you for the insight that I've given them.
Right.
So it works.
Right.
Your message works.
Let me kind of expand on that whole process for you a little bit and kind of give you more of the behind the scenes of what's happening to people. Most of us don't retain facts and figures as much as we retain stories. We can remember lyrics to a song because it's attached to a memory. We remember memories of what happened with our friends and our family during a certain event. But if you were to quote a specific dollar amount of something you bought in let's say 2010, it'd be harder for you to remember than it is harder to remember where you were on a summer vacation with your family and what you did. That's because most of us hold on to the memories because it falls into that feeling part because of the quote. The quote maybe we talked about last time. People will never remember what you said. They will always remember how you made them feel, right?
Yes.
Truth is that when you describe the triangle of trust, when you describe that vision to people and you're able to articulate it in such a way that people understand it and they can see it and you can tell the story about it, what you're doing is you're taking people away from all the adjectives and all the rhetoric that most people throw at them, and you paint yourself into a box you paint yourself into a frame that you've now set up and that you're in control of. And people remember that, and people feel that. And so when you start creating that emotional bond with people, I call it going from the black to the red. The black is the transactional black and white part of this business. However, if you can get people to that red or the emotional side, you can survive most anything that the process throws at you and still come out looking like a superhero and still being able to ask for referrals. And that's what we'll develop over the next several weeks is what words, what are the presentation conversations like? Because the triangle of trust is really one of about a 5 or 6 part opening that I usually go through with my clients before I actually start talking about mortgages with them. The message that I want you to use is that's your message on why you're doing this. That's the message that you tell your agents. Like I was in West Palm Beach on this past weekend. My family and I drove there for a wedding, and I was sitting out at the pool because I'm a ginger, I'm a redhead, so I don't. My fiance didn't. She's Cuban, so believe me when I say this, I don't belong down in the weather where she is. So they're out on the beach and doing whatever. I'm in the shade. And I'm having a conversation with this guy who, oddly enough, he flew Black Hawk helicopters in Iraq, which that in and of itself was a pretty cool conversation. But he and I started talking about work and what we did and whatnot. And he asked me what I did, and I said, well, I work for a mortgage company, and what I do is a little different because it's kind of not really, I do some coaching. And I said, and he asked me, he goes, so what makes your company so unique? And I said, well, I think that our mousetrap, i.e., what makes us unique is we have a different model of the way we treat our people. We have a different model on how we treat our sales, team, and how our operations treat our sales team. But the cool part is that conversation that came up wasn't about mortgages. I never talked about loans. I talked about the company and the way we treat people. And the reality is the company itself, Success Mortgage Partners, is not a transactional-based company. We're much the same way that you guys are treating your clients. And so the beauty of it is that when you get to talk to people about a feeling, you get them away from the commodity of this business. And any time that you can get away from the commoditization of our business, the higher the likelihood that you're going to get people to do things that they normally wouldn't have done, because they're going to leave that conversation going, God, I really like Scott. Oh, I really like Larry. And they're going to say, why? Was it the rate? Was it the fee? No, it has nothing to do with that. I mean, that's important, but I feel like I can trust him. That's why they're able to go back to that referral source and say thank you, which what you're doing there is you're convincing people to pass that feeling and to validate that trust. And when you can do that, imagine if you had a pipeline of 15 people that every one of those people were going back to the referral source. Think about how quickly that multiplies. That's powerful. That is where this business is won. That's where you become significant. It isn't about how many agents you can call every day. It isn't about how many clients you can call every day. I mean, it is and it isn't, but the true success or the true significance of your business comes when you start articulating your conversations and can orchestrate referable moments. And those referable moments are kind of like what you did. When you got that client to call up that referral source and say thank you, you orchestrated a referable moment, because now that realtor is going to seek out another opportunity for you because she loves the feeling of being made to feel like she helped somebody else out. Can we all agree to that? Does that all resonate?
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. How about you, Scott? What do you got?
Yeah, I didn't have a whole lot of chance to practice it last week, if I'm honest. I listened to the recording a couple times. I'm still a little bit confused as to how I'm presenting the triangle of trust to the realtor. So the triangle of trust, from what I'm getting, is more of a in a discussion with a client, to where the realtor referred you to me, so they must really trust you, and so on. Must really trust me, and so on. But how am I conveying that to the realtor? And that's what I listened to it over and over. I couldn't really grasp that.
Hey Larry.
Yeah.
Larry, you want to share with Scott what your perspective on that is?
Sure, Scott. I had the same issue with you going with the frauding and putting up the facts and the figures. And all I told this, and again, I have never even met this girl. She sent me a LinkedIn like or ad, and so I see kind of what she looks like, and I see a little bit. She hasn't been in the business that long, and all I saw was I said, stop. We were talking about, yes, we're going to close your loan on time. Yes, we're going to communicate. Yes. I said, stop. This is what I want to do. I want to take care of your clients and give them the best possible financial advice I can for their particular situation. And then I went into how I feel about what I should do with my experience. Again, I've been in business a long time, and she didn't want, and I think my thing before was, and even the company I was with before, was push, push, push. It was transaction. We just care about the numbers. We don't care about the client. And I turned around and put my personal perspective on it about how good I want to do for her and what it means to me to help her client, and the trust that she gave me to be to refer. And again, this turned out not to be a purchase. This is a refinance of her best friend. Yeah. And it really turned around. I put the triangle of trust in there and told them how good I wanted to do for her client, to show her what I'm willing to do for her, for our relationship, not for a referral, not for the loan, not for just for us, and to be a friend with her. I'm going to show her I'm going to do the best possible job I could. And she was floored. I mean, normally it was I would say a give and take 50-50 conversation with me and her together. I feel like I know this girl. We've had 6 conversations, the last one for about 45 minutes, when I really didn't think I had an opportunity to get an appointment with her or to have this coffee. I don't even drink coffee. So when I put her my feelings, my emotion behind it, she just said, hey, I'm going to have somebody call you. And after 2 hours, they didn't call me, I just text her back and say, if you give me their number, I'd be glad to touch base with them. She goes, that'd be really good. Call them after 5 o'clock. And after that, the gate's open. She's already texted me from her vacation that she wants to meet as soon as she gets back. She gets back this Friday.
Here's what when you're meeting with a referral partner, what you're really trying to convey to them is the understanding of what's in it for them. Everybody's going to sell and push the idea that you'll get paid, you'll close on time. Everybody says that. What nobody is saying is that when you honor me with your referral, I understand that you're basically putting your reputation and your trust in me, and you've never done that with anybody. You haven't done that with me yet, and I'm sure you don't do that with anybody. So you're very, very cautious on who you refer to. Let's be honest, Scott. You've never had a client or anybody else call you up and say thank you for referring somebody, right? I'm going to assume that not once in your life has anybody called you up and said, hey, Scott, thank you so much for putting me in touch with the Kia Sedona dealer that you just bought your car from. They did awesome.
Yeah.
That has never happened to you, has it?
No, never.
Okay. So ask yourself one question. The way that you and I have started our conversations for the last, we've talked maybe an hour and a half, would you feel at this point that you could go back to Brian and say, hey, thank you, buddy. I appreciate you putting me in touch with Doug and giving me this opportunity. I feel like I've made some progress, and I can see where the value of this is going to happen for me over the next coming months, and I feel like I wouldn't have gotten this anyplace else. Do you feel like you could go to Brian and say that?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
How do you think that's going to make Brian feel?
Probably pretty good. Confident in his decision to set us up with you.
And what do you think that's going to make him view you as?
What is that going to make him?
How do you think he's going to look at you?
That I'm taking it seriously?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that you trust him, right? He's going to think like, oh my gosh, this guy really trusts what I tell him.
Yeah.
He's not flippantly going to steer you in the wrong direction. You believe now with this one little piece of your life that Brian is somebody who you can trust, who you believe has your best interests at heart, and that if he asks you to do something, or if he tells you based on a request by you to do something, you're probably going to do it because why wouldn't you? Brian has never steered you wrong to begin with.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The truth is that when you go to a realtor, you're talking to them in hopes that they're going to be the Brian Heckman in this conversation to you later. Every realtor doesn't refer out their clients because they don't, frankly, trust and believe that the LO is going to make them look good. And let's be honest with ourselves, most of these agents probably make less than $40,000 a year. Most of them are probably broke as a joke. And if they're going to take the one client that means the world to them and give them to an LO, they're going to want somebody who at the very least closes the loan on time. Well, you can't prove that within the first 20 minutes of meeting somebody, but you can paint a picture of yourself to them that makes them at least believe that not only will you close the loan on time, but your goal is to get that client to call you to say thank you. And by doing that, two things happen. The client not only now becomes an advocate of your business because you've told them how you work and why you work this way, but the realtor is going to have something happen to them that they've never had happen before. And it's not like the client's going to call up and go, hey, listen, Mr. Realtor, I just wanted to call and say thank you because that's what Scott told me to do.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand, and can you see the power behind what I'm trying to convince you guys to do?
I see it. I do.
So the truth is that you're not. What's that?
I definitely see it. I was just having trouble in how to present it to the realtor, and I think I'm getting it a little bit better now.
All you're doing to the realtor is you're telling them why you work this way. This has nothing to do with mortgages. Let's be honest. You could be talking to anybody and having the same conversation. You can literally have a conversation with a realtor and go, I'm not talking to a realtor anymore. I'm talking to somebody that I want to make them feel something. I'm going to convince this person to give me an opportunity to show them what I can do, and by doing that, I'm going to make them feel like $1 million. Because when you describe the triangle of trust, every person that I've ever described that to, when they get it, go, wow, God, that's refreshing. That makes total sense. I love what you just said. That's what I was searching for. I've had that conversation with so many realtors that it comes off my tongue so easily. But the truth is that most agents, they don't get it. They don't understand it. They don't have a business model that they can appreciate that with. So a lot of the people that you're going to share this with, it might just fall on deaf ears. Larry's conversation is fantastic, but that's not going to happen every time he meets with a realtor. That's why it's so important to realize that you're the prize. There's not another loan officer on your block or heck in your town that has the ability to create emotion in a transaction. Think about that for a moment. There's not another loan officer who's going to be capable of creating an emotion through a process like you guys are going to be able to do. And that emotion is what drives trust. And that trust, which is a feeling, drives what? It drives your business. It's what drives people to refer you, because they're going to be addicted to the feeling. If a realtor refers out 5 people and all 5 people come back to them and say, wow, Scott was awesome. Thank you so much. He wasn't able to help me out, but he pointed me in the right direction. Oh, I talked to Scott the other day. He was fantastic. I went to his office. The guy's a rock star. Thank you so much. If a realtor is getting this kind of praise from every person that they refer to you, what do you think ends up happening to that relationship with you and the realtor?
It's strong.
It's going to be great. Yeah.
It's going to be impenetrable to any one transaction and any loan officer come knocking on their door. That's the secret to this. That's the truth. Nobody is capable of talking like this. No other loan officer is going to understand the psychology of this, because nobody trains the LOs on how to do this. You guys are not seeking loans. You guys are not seeking purchase agreements. Those are going to be the products of what I'm teaching you, but I'm swimming you guys farther upstream to the source. And the source is, when you're with your referral partners, you've got to understand that you're not selling a mortgage. You're not selling a product. You're selling a feeling. And the feeling starts with how you create the image of why you do this. All you're doing is creating a conversation as to why your relationship with me is so vital. My relationship with you both is vital on 3 different levels. One, I need you guys to look at Brian and be like, wow, man, this is, had I not joined the shop, I wouldn't be getting this training. That solidifies your relationship with him. That strengthens it. It strengthens my relationship with Brian. But even more so, now Brian becomes an advocate of my business, and he starts telling Kevin, who's my partner, who's one of the owners of the company. And the list goes on, and then pretty soon it goes up to the principal owners of the company. I mean, the value of what I'm doing can be played out in the same way it can be played out for you. Once you understand that the connection that's made, every person that you talk to is furthering your brand. You guys have a brand now. Your brand is not selling loans. Your brand is creating emotions that produce gratitude to the people that refer you. I'm going to say that again. Your brand is producing gratitude to those people who refer you. That's your brand. Your brand isn't mortgages. But because you are in the mortgage industry and because you are talking to people in the real estate industry, your brand is going to produce contracts and leads and loans and closings and paychecks. So if you pick up the phone and you do 30 Thor's Hammer calls, and that's the process you want to do to get your agents, great. But the Thor's Hammer is just the mechanism on how you get to the agents. What I'm teaching you is what you say to the agents once you're in front of them to make your time worthwhile, and that you can look at them and in a few minutes determine whether or not they're worth your time. The truth is that most of these agents are going to want to talk to you, and they're going to want to listen to you, and they're going to want to have more conversations with you because you're not talking to them about real estate. You're talking to them about things that make them feel good. And let's be honest, we all want to talk to people who make us feel good, right?
Yeah. What do
you guys get so far? Give me some feedback.
Well, again, Scott, Larry here. Doug. I missed part of the call last time, and after I reviewed it right after lunchtime, the same day on Tuesday, I kind of put down the words, why I'm working with Brian, what the company is, what they do for me, and then I turned around to put my emotion behind it. And I think what I realized at the time was I don't think I was putting enough care into it. I was treating everybody with the facts and figures. Hey, I am doing the same thing everybody else is. And honestly, the last company I was with, they didn't allow anybody to deviate from their pricing model. Brian gave me a little bit of flexibility. Unfortunately, I've lost 2 or 3 deals based on price. And I've made a list of all the 6 or 7 realtors that I've worked with so far to go back and script them with the triangle of trust. After I did that, like a light bulb did go off going, this is the ticket. Because nobody else is doing this in my area. And again, I'm in a very, very competitive area. I'm lucky enough to be right in the center of it. And I think by me changing my attitude toward realtors, like you said, all my referral partners, I got to build on them until I get the ones I truly want to work with. Some I've worked with, and the big problem was, Larry, you keep switching companies. Every 2 years, I've switched to a new lender, and Brian and Carl's team really made me realize how different this was. Scott was the one who brought me into SM Partners, and then through Brian, that's our local connection, and it's been a monumental turnaround. And I had such a great time doing this last Tuesday. Brian was going out of town when he told us that he wasn't going to be able to be on this call because he was going on vacation. I called him to thank him just for getting me hooked up with you. Exactly what the relationship was. I know you're in a different state, a different area for the same company, but you have your own company. And so you have to take this kind of time out to explain to Scott and I about how to get Iggy on it. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, man. It means the world to me. That's everything I'm after. That's all that I'm after. That's all that I'm after. I want you guys to have as much fun with this as I've had. I want you guys to go out there and look at your realtor partners and look at your clients as not as a transaction anymore, but as an opportunity to expand your brand. That's really what I'm going to work with you guys on, expanding your brand. There's a guy out there by the name of Gary Vaynerchuk. I'm sure you guys have heard of him. Maybe, maybe not.
Yep.
But he basically, and this is the book that I've read a couple times back and forth. He talks in the book called Crush It. He talks about when you're passionate about something and you do it and you live it and you breathe it, you become an expert and it becomes your brand. So when I met with my clients, when I met with my realtors and my financial planners and CPAs and my clients, I actually stopped talking about mortgages with my clients. I turned that over to my assistants. I didn't want to talk to them about mortgages. Frankly, I didn't want to talk to them about loans, period, because I didn't feel like that was where my strong suit was. I didn't want to know guidelines. I'm not an expert in all regs and ratios. I mean, I knew enough to tell you whether or not it was worth meeting with me, but once I knew that it was worth meeting with me, I spent 20 minutes communicating my value and reiterating our philosophy or my brand to them, and I made sure that when they left, they knew wholeheartedly that not only could they trust us because my brand was built around that, but they knew that they had to become advocates of our business if we earned it. I mentioned to you guys last week, I may or may not have, but I haven't originated a loan since 2013, but I still got 5 referrals that week that I passed on to Denise. That's not because I'm generating business from my database anymore. I'm not calling them. It's because they remembered. They remembered how I made them feel. my conversations was always about planting that seed of why they should work with me and how good it feels to work with me. Never lose sight of that. Never lose sight that every chance that you have to communicate, you're communicating a value of feelings, not rates and figures. Those are important, but those are the 4, 5, and 6 questions that they should ask after they determine, should I work with you? What's in it for me? And how do I know you're going to do a great job for me? Once you get past those 3, guess what? Rates and fees are important, but they're never going to scrutinize those because they'll have found value in what you're doing. Don't kid yourself. Everybody is seeking out how they make, choosing a transaction based on how it makes them feel. You'll hear me talk about this again in the future, but we live in an experiential economy right now. We live in an experiential economy. Everything that we get sold every single day is about creating an experience. Look at Coca-Cola, the most recent one. What has Coca-Cola done to all their bottles?
Put America or USA or...
Well, I think that might be Budweiser, but I think like Coca-Cola put names. They put names on all their bottles now.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Their slogan was, have a drink with a friend. What do you think that is? That's creating an experience, right? That's a memory. It's a feeling. Don't think for a moment that we're not impacted by that. So when you're able to sell a feeling, you're selling an experience. That's the secret. The sooner you get that, the sooner you're comfortable talking about it, the sooner that you will perpetuate that feeling to your clients, and people will work with you because they like you and they trust you. And that's because they'll have listened to you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. It does.
That's my soapbox for today, boys. I hope that was helpful.
Very good.
I really appreciate it, Doug.
Is this something that you guys, I mean, I don't need you guys to BS me. Is this resonating as well as I hope? I mean, are you getting the sense of, I'm feeling like I can go out there and have more conversations and have it be a little bit more impactful than what, I was? I know, Larry, you are.
Yeah, it definitely is for me, Doug. I mean, like I told you before, I'm relatively inexperienced loan officer as far as,
right,
like you said, guidelines, facts, and figures. So that was something that it was an insecurity of mine to these meetings.
Right.
And now it's a totally different perspective. I don't have to talk about that stuff at all, realistically, or very little. So it's pretty cool.
Let me, you know what, before we hang up the call, I want to ask you this one question, Scott, and it's kind of fun because you just went through it. You said that how many weeks did it take you to decide on a car?
Probably 2 weeks, something like that.
Week 2, okay, let's just say a week. Were you sold on the Kia before you went and decided to buy that one, or were you open to, the Chryslers and the Hyundais and the Chevys and I mean, were you open to all of those?
Yeah, we were. We went and looked at Honda and Toyota too. So.
Okay, besides price, let's take price off the table for a moment, because I don't believe that you would have bought a Kia had you walk in and if the salesman was a total jackass to you. I mean, I think you may have gone to another dealership, but why did you choose the dealership that you went to? Besides the car and the product, why did you choose the dealership?
I think it was the sales manager was kind of knew I wasn't willing to put up with the gimmicks, and he just kind of was straight with me about it. And so he gave me a proposal, I could just talk to him. So.
Right. You felt comfortable talking to him because of the way he communicated with you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
He was transparent, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
very transparent, and so it created a feeling of what with you? Trust?
Somewhat trust. I mean, I never really trusted a car dealer, but it's
Right.
just more open line of communication. It's a little unique situation. I've got in my family long line of car dealers, so I kind of know the behind the scenes, and so I was able to basically conveyed that to him, and he put his cards on the table, and it was just strictly numbers at that point. And
right.
And he was willing to do it, whereas everyone else was still, they still thought they were able to get to kind of one up me and and sell me on it rather than just kind of discuss realistic figures. So
how do you want your clients to feel when they walk into your office? Do you want them to have the feeling that you have buying a car, or do you want them to have a different experience?
I would want them to have a different experience personally, but the car purchase thing is probably a bad example for me. I've got a predetermined, I guess, disposition to not particularly like the process.
Well, I'm gonna disagree with you on that, because I think the car experience is a perfect example, because you've got an intimate background on cars. You've been able to be in that position like a client going into a dealership and having to talk to somebody about facts and figures, and you never got that feeling. You never felt like you were comfortable. You can get a transaction and you can get a sale all day long by doing it the way that you went through with the dealership. Where the dealership is missing out, where the dealership is really losing tremendous amount of traction and tremendous amount of future business, is not doing and speaking the way that I'm teaching you guys to. If you could imagine how your clients would feel sitting in front of you, and I'm not saying that every LO is not honest. I'm just saying that even an LO who's 100% transparent with you will never earn the right to get a referral. They'll never get a right to endorse you and pass on your name and number to somebody else. What I'm trying to get you to realize is that by talking and speaking the way that I'm trying to get you guys to see, you're going to move yourself so far away from the transparency part of the car buying process, that if you can have the transparency and you are honest and you are not going to bullshit people. Imagine if you're not only transparent, but you really were able to create a feeling with people that they felt comfortable referring. How much more powerful would you be if you could have both of those tools in your box to work with?
Oh, yeah.
Unstoppable. Yeah. The point is that car buying experience was exactly what you needed to go through just recently, so that analogy could be brought in, because now you're going through that car buying experience in your head, and you're attaching feelings and emotions to it. Now the next client that you get in front of you, a realtor that you can get in front of you and go, I don't want to be just transparent with them. Being transparent is easy, because that's who I am. I'm honest. I'm genuine. What I'm not clear on is how I can create an emotion of trust with you. Because transparency isn't just trust. Transparency is, here are the facts and figures. I can make my business all transactional. All you have to be is transparent. But if you ever want to reach a point of significance where you've said 3 to 4 loans, in the next 90 days, and then 6 to 8 loans, and then on and on, you're never going to be able to do that just being transparent. Never. Because you're not Kia. You're not a dealership on a main road. You're not marketing and advertising. It's just your word of mouth, and it's your brand. It's Scott's brand. And the only way to perpetuate that as free and as cheaply and as powerfully as possible is that you've got to be able to create a feeling in people that makes them want to tell other people about you. And it isn't just because you're transparent. It's because you put yourself into a frame that you want them to see that. And when you can do that and then follow it up with being transparent, but you've got the recipe for significant success, guaranteed.
Okay. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. I'm just thinking about the dealership experience.
See, this is the point. See, the story that you have in your mind, that memory, now you can attach it to. That's exactly what I'm trying to get across. You have an experience that you've been through. That's where the effectiveness of this comes in. You can taste that dealership. You can smell the air in that dealership. You can remember every detail of that sale manager's face. I guarantee you remember that process. That's the feeling that you get when you feel like you're getting what you want. But now that I'm trying to teach you the emotion, you can go back and go, it was such a sterile and such a clinical and such a transactional process. I don't ever want my clients to feel that way. So now look at it from you walking into the dealership and how you would have said it to your client if they were coming in to buy a car from you. How would you have communicated? What would you have said? And use that Kia story for what it's intended to do for you. Here's what can be done at a bare minimum, but here's what I want to do in order to get the most out of every opportunity.
Yeah, I'm thinking of back to the last car I bought before this, and the GM there was actually used kind of the same technique as you're talking about. He did it really well to the point where actually I got a worse deal there than I would have elsewhere, but I took it anyway because of him.
Well, okay, so let be honest with yourself about that. It isn't that you got a worse deal, is that you didn't buy it just based on price. Okay, you didn't buy. I mean, you're not going to look at your clients and go, you got a worse deal with me because you could have gone to guaranteed rate and got a better rate. You didn't get a worse deal. What you did was you bought based on a feeling of whatever. Comfort, trust, belief. It made you realize that I don't want to go shop 5 other cars. I mean, the extra $20 a month is irrelevant. If I can buy this car and I like the product and I have to have a car, I'd rather buy it from him.
Yep.
Because of what you know of the automotive industry. I will tell you that we are not that far removed from being car salesmen. At least that's how the consumer views us most of the time.
Yep.
The point is that this story about buying a car for you is the connection that I want you to have in your heart and in your head about what you're after, and use that story in your head and how you create, and that's the imagery that I want you to use when you meet with your realtor. Hell, you even use the story with the agents if you want. I can be transactional for you, Mr. Realtor. I'm not interested in being transactional. Listen, I just bought a car recently. Let me tell you how clear I am as to why I'm doing it this way. My God, that is the best analogy that you can come up with, because everybody's bought a car. Everybody knows the feeling of what it means to be treated like a client in a car dealership. Everybody knows how they feel when they talk to a car salesman. The only reason I enjoy doing it because I like talking about cars, and most of the time when a sales rep comes to me and I can stump him on 5 or 6 different things about the specific car that I'm looking at, they're done talking to me. At that point, I'm in control.
Yep.
And so the truth is that when you can use that story and you have that be your platform, I always think that things happen for a reason. I think you bought your car just recently, and this conversation got brought up because I think is what was necessary for you to connect the dots to make this an emotional experience for you. Now, when you go speak to a realtor, you have a story to tell, and that should help you communicate your vision and your passion and your why, because I don't think you care just about closing a loan. I know you care more about the people you're working with because you see the value that they're going to have for you. So, and I'm going to end it with this little statistic, and this is something I want you guys to remember, because I'm going to say this repeatedly over the next year that we're talking, if it goes that long for you guys. 30%, that's the number. Every client that comes across your desk, every lead that comes across your desk, every realtor that comes across your desk, 30% of them will become advocates of your business. 30%. So more than likely, you're going to have to talk to 10 agents to find 3 advocates. You're going to have to get 3 referrals to get 3 of those clients advocating your business. And that's not a guess, that's statistics after 20 years of doing this. Some are higher, some are lower. 30%.
Sounds right, actually.
I know it's right.
Obviously.
The truth is that every time you go talk to somebody, there's a 1 in 3 chance that they're going to mean something to you, but there's a 2/3 chance that they're not. So don't waste your time. Don't try to convince these people. Don't spend a lot of time with your realtors or your referral partners that don't get it. And after you're done sharing your why with them, then you have the right to ask them for a business, because you can show them what you're doing if they give you an opportunity. And if you can get your realtors more thank yous from their clients, shit, guys, nobody's going to touch them. Did you guys like today's class?
Very good, very good. Hey, can you send us that message that we opened up with on your tablet?
Yeah. I'll send an attachment along with the replay as soon as I've done converting it. So if you guys choose to listen to the replay again, you can. And again, guys, please don't ever feel like you just have to wait for these calls. I don't know if maybe I misunderstood you, but I'm actually an employee of Success Mortgage Partners. I'm Vice President of Growth and Retention, and Scott Hudspeth and myself and Kevin Broden are really on the same level. I mean, they do more of the recruiting, and I'm more of the loan officer retention. So I am an employee of Success. So if you guys ever need anything and you guys want to talk to me about anything with regards to your business, roadblocks, challenges, success stories, please don't hesitate to pick up the phone. I actually enjoy talking to you guys individually if you guys want to.
Very good.
All right. You referral, guys. Make it a great day.
Thanks.
Thank you. You too.
Welcome, guys. See ya.